Throughout history, some tractors have been genuine machines of terror, with designs so dangerous that it's a miracle farmers survived them. From bone-breaking starting systems to untamable beasts impossible to maneuver, which is the tractor with the most dangerous feature of all? Stay until the end of the video and find out. If you've ever thought a tractor should have the fiery spirit of a dragon, the Lance Bulldog fits the bill perfectly. Born in Germany between 1921 and 1960, this beast boasted a single-cylinder engine with a massive 10.3-liter capacity, delivering 12 to 55 horsepower, depending on the version. That's right, just one cylinder with 10 liters. It wasn't much compared to modern machines, but back then it was a marvel. Every time the engine fired, the whole tractor shook like someone was hammering it relentlessly. Sitting on it must have felt like a wild ride, but that was just the beginning of its quirks. The real challenge with the Lance Bulldog was starting at a task not for the faint-hearted. You had to heat the cylinder head with a blowtorch until it glowed red hot, which took several minutes of patience. Then you'd crank the heavy flywheel by hand, hoping everything went smoothly to bring the engine to life. If luck was on your side, it roared awake. If not, a burst of flame might shoot right at your face, turning it into a giant wheeled lighter. Even if you got it running, the lack of suspension meant every piston stroke sent the tractor bouncing like a roller coaster on a field. It took nerves of steel to handle this one. Despite its dangers, the Lance Bulldog has a special charm, especially for collectors today. Its market price ranges from $20,000 to $40,000, a hefty sum for an old machine. Owning and operating it without getting hurt requires more than money. It demands luck and skill. It's like an expensive toy, both a pride and a challenge. If you ever spot one in person, you'll see why it's dubbed the field-flaming beast. Picture farmers of old sweating with a blowtorch in hand, and you can't help but admire their grit. Compared to the fierce Lance Bulldog, the Allis-Chalmers Model G seems tame at first glance, but don't be fooled. Built from 1948 to 1955, this little tractor was designed to be light and versatile, perfect for smaller fields. It ran on a Hercules 1.0-liter, four-cylinder engine, producing a modest 10 horsepower and 50 newton-meters of torque. It sounds like a harmless companion for farmers, nothing to worry about. But beneath its compact frame lurked a deadly flaw that caught many by surprise. Some liken it to a tiny vehicle possessed by a mischievous spirit, always ready to stir up trouble. The Allis-Chalmers Model G's biggest flaw was its lack of front brakes, an odd and baffling design choice. With the engine in the rear and rear-wheel drive, going downhill could lift the front end, like a motorcycle doing a wheelie, but without the thrill. Farmers often found themselves tumbling into ditches or crushed under their own machine. Its lightweight build also made it prone to tipping on uneven ground, turning every trip into a gamble. You had to be extra cautious, as a single misstep could lead to disaster. It was a small tractor with a big attitude and bigger risks. Even with its reputation, the Allis-Chalmers Model G holds a place in the hearts of vintage machinery fans. On today's used market, it goes for $3,000 to $7,000, pretty reasonable for a piece of history. But if you're thinking of buying one, steer clear of steep hills. It's like a naughty little pup. Cute, but liable to bite when you least expect it. Stories about this tractor live on, a reminder that simplicity can come with a catch. Farmers back then must have had endless patience to tame this brakeless, tiny terror in the fields. In the 1920s, Henry Ford brought his mass-production genius from cars to farming with the Fordson Model F. This tractor featured a four-cylinder, 4.2-liter engine, churning out 20 horsepower and 220 newton-meters of torque, a big deal for its time. Ford aimed to make farming faster and easier, and on the surface, it looked like a solid, dependable machine. It promised progress, a new era for farmers everywhere. But hidden behind its innovation was a serious flaw that turned it into a nightmare for many who trusted it. The Fordson Model F suffered from terrible weight distribution, a heavy engine up front and a feather-light rear axle. Hook up a plow or start it too hard, and the front end would lift like it was trying to toss the driver off. It was less a tractor and more a giant seesaw with deadly consequences. Plenty of farmers ended up pinned under it, earning it the nickname Rollover King. The US government issued warnings and people scrambled to add counterweights to keep it grounded. Every ride was a tense prayer for safety. Despite the risks, the Fordson Model F sold like hotcakes thanks to its low price $395 back then, about $6,000 today with inflation. Now you might snag one for $8,000 to $15,000, but watch out for accidental wheelies. It's like a vintage toy, nostalgic yet nerve-wracking. Tales of its antics still circulate, proof that innovation can stumble. Farmers of that era must have been fearless to partner with this rollover king day after day, leaving behind a legacy of both triumph and caution. Ever dreamed of driving a tractor like a rally car? The Case 1200 Traction King might make you reconsider. Launched in the 1960s, this beast packed a six-cylinder, 8.3-liter engine, delivering 135 horsepower and 500 newton-meters of torque, a true titan of the fields. It was a source of pride back then, with its four-wheel drive and imposing size suggesting it could handle anything. You'd think it was the perfect farm companion, but beneath that power lay a flaw that turned every drive into a test of wits and reflexes. The Case 1200's articulated steering was a nightmare. Instead of smooth turns, it jerked like an angry bull, especially at higher speeds for a tractor, that is. Take a corner too fast, and you might crash into a pole, ditch, or even a herd of cows if luck wasn't on your side. The cab offered no soundproofing either, rattling you like an industrial massager. Each trip was a battle of endurance, making fieldwork feel more like an adventure sport. It demanded quick thinking to keep this monster in line. Despite its quirks, the Case 1200 Traction King still captivates vintage enthusiasts, fetching $10,000 to $18,000 today, a fair price for a legend. If you buy one, you'll need sharp reflexes to tame it. It's like a wild horse, powerful but unruly. Those who've driven it likely have tales galore, from near misses to moments of pride. The Case 1200 proves that raw strength comes with a cost, a lesson etched into its rumbling frame. It's a relic of a time when machines tested not just the land, but the people who dared to steer them. The Big Bud 747 is hands down the most jaw-dropping tractor ever made. Unveiled in 1977 in the US, it was built to tackle the vast plains where ordinary machines faltered. Picture this: 8.2 meters long, 6 meters wide, and over 45 tons heavy. Its Detroit diesel 16-cylinder, 24.1-liter engine pumped out a staggering 1,000 horsepower and 5,500 newton-meters of torque, stronger than some race trucks. It looked like an unbeatable champion, ready to conquer any field. But its sheer size turned out to be its Achilles heel, making it a giant too big for its own good. The Big Bud 747 was impossible to maneuver in tight spaces. One wrong move, and there was no going back. Its wheels, over 2 meters tall, were so heavy that repairs needed industrial cranes. The 3,800-liter fuel tank sounded impressive, but filling it today costs a fortune, and if a tire blew, good luck finding spares. The original maker's long gone. Drivers had to be precise. A slight misstep could tear up an entire field. It was less a tractor and more an elephant lumbering through the crops, mighty, but clumsy in a way that demanded respect. Flaws aside, the Big Bud 747 remains a legend, with auction prices soaring past €1 million, a fitting value for an icon. Don't expect to drive it on small roads or turn corners easily. It's an odyssey in itself. It's like a giant plaything, awesome yet intimidating. Anyone who's seen it work can't forget the sight of this colossus rolling across the land. The Big Bud 747 shows that sometimes being the biggest isn't an advantage, but a challenge, one that farmers and collectors alike still marvel at today. The Farmall Model M was a fan favorite in the 1940s and 50s across America. Powered by an International Harvester 4.1-liter, four-cylinder engine, it offered 38 horsepower and 220 newton-meters of torque, plenty for the era's farming needs. Affordable and reliable, it quickly became a go-to for many. Its sturdy look suggested it was a trusty partner with no downsides. But there was a catch that made long days in the field a literal pain, especially on rough terrain, turning it into a companion farmers both loved and dreaded. The Farmall Model M had next to no rear suspension, a baffling oversight for a tractor. On bumpy ground, every rock or rut jolted straight into the driver's spine. A few hours aboard, and you'd ache like a trucker after a 48-hour haul. The brakes were just as bad. Heading downhill with a heavy load, you could only hope no ditch appeared. Each ride tested your endurance, making farm work a back-breaking ordeal. It was a machine that demanded as much grit as it gave help. Still, the Farmall Model M is a collector's gem today, priced between $5,000 and $12,000 when restored. If you get one, brace yourself and keep a chiropractor on call. It's like an old pal, cherished but tough on you. Stories of its use linger, a nod to the resilience of farmers who stuck with it. They endured those long, bumpy days, leaving a legacy that's both admirable and a bit wincing. The Farmall Model M proves even the best tools can come with a catch, one felt in every bone. The Minneapolis Moline UDLX is proof some ideas are better left on paper. Launched in 1938, it sported a six-cylinder, 4.8-liter engine with 50 horsepower and 320 newton-meters of torque, pretty solid for its day. What set it apart was a fully enclosed cab and a top speed of 65 kilometers per hour on roads, like a luxury car crossed with a tractor. The makers likely wanted something unique, a standout among sluggish farm machines. But farmers didn't need flash, they needed function, and that's where the UDLX fell flat. The UDLX's steering and brakes couldn't handle its racing speed. Try stopping fast and you might crash through the windshield, the systems just weren't up to it. A speedy tractor sounded cool, but it was a disaster in practice. Farmers weren't out to race, they wanted to plow. Plus, it cost twice as much as regular tractors, so hardly anyone bought it. It was like a pricey toy, nice to look at, but useless in the fields where it was meant to shine. Today, the Minneapolis Moline UDLX is a rare find, fetching over $200,000 in collections, a big number for a commercial flop. If you own one, it's better off in a museum than on the road. It's like a dream that never took off, sleek and inventive, but out of place. Gearheads might drool over its design, but practical farmers would shrug. The UDLX teaches us that sometimes fancy doesn't fit the field. It's a relic of ambition that missed the mark, yet still dazzles in its own odd way. The Belarus MTZ-50 embodies classic Soviet machinery, tough as nails but short on comfort and safety. Made in the 1960s and 70s, it ran on a four-cylinder, 4.7-liter diesel engine, producing 50 horsepower and 320 newton-meters of torque. Built to endure brutal winters and rough fields, its simple design screamed reliability. Its rugged look made you think it could take on anything without breaking a sweat. But the reality wasn't so smooth. Drivers faced challenges that only the boldest could handle. The Belarus MTZ-50's steering was a total gamble. Some had power assist, others didn't. Turning the wheel could feel like lifting a 50-kilogram weight. The brakes were just as crude. If you were speeding and needed to stop fast, you'd either wait it out or jump off. It was more tank than tractor, strong but stubborn and hard to control. You needed muscle over finesse, making every workday a wrestling match with the machine. Still, it got the job done, Soviet style. Even now, the Belarus MTZ-50 thrives in Eastern Europe. priced at $3,000 to $6,000 cheap for something so durable. If you buy one, bring strength and patience to tame this tank. It's like a gruff friend, not cuddly, but there when it counts. Farmers who've used it have stories aplenty, from steering struggles to quiet pride in its toughness. The MTZ-50 stands as a symbol of grit. Even if its stubborn streak drives you up the wall, it's a piece of history that keeps on rolling. The Oliver 90 shone bright in the golden age of tractors, though not always fondly remembered. Starting it meant cranking by hand like something out of an old Western flick, which sounds fun until you try it. Its engine was plenty strong for fieldwork, but the way it worked was a major headache. It looked sturdy and promising, a hit with farmers of its time. Yet behind its popularity lay tales of mishaps that make you wince just hearing them. If the Oliver 90's engine fired too soon while cranking, the handle could snap back with brutal force. At best, you'd sprain a wrist. At worst, you'd break bones. Many farmers learned this the hard way. It was like a hidden trap, ready to strike the unwary. Still, people loved it for its performance and longevity. Every crank was a roll of the dice, earning it the title Armbuster, for good reason, a risk you took with every start. Today, the Oliver 90 is a collector's darling, priced at $8,000 to $15,000 in good shape. If you get one, skip the crank and save your arms. It's like a keepsake from yesteryear, treasured but tricky. Those who've run it have memories to share, from pain to payoff when the day's work was done. The Oliver 90 shows that convenience sometimes came at a cost, often in sweat and sore limbs. Farmers back then had guts to stick with this classic through thick and thin. The Massey Ferguson 135, born in the 60s and 70s, is hailed as one of the most dependable tractors ever. With a Perkins 3-cylinder, 2.5-liter engine, it delivered 45 horsepower and 150 newton-meters of torque, enough to win over any farmer. It shone in performance and versatility, a star in the fields. Its neat design made it seem flawless, a machine you could count on. But there was a wild twist that landed it in history books for reasons less glowing, earning it the quirky tag of electrical wizard. The Massey Ferguson 135's wiring was a game of chance. It could short out without warning. Sometimes the engine just wouldn't start. Other times it'd spark a fire midfield. Some owners parked it overnight only to find ashes by morning, as if it had a mind to self-destruct. The mechanics were top-notch, but the electrical gremlins kept you guessing. It was like a moody friend, reliable 1 minute, betraying you with a flicker the next. A wizard indeed, but not always the helpful kind. Despite the chaos, the Massey Ferguson 135 remains a hot item, selling for $5,000 to $10,000 today. If you grab one, check the wiring or keep a fire extinguisher handy. It's like a quirky antique, lovable yet unpredictable. Farmers who've owned it have tales to tell, from panic to pride in its quirks. It's a reminder that even the best machines can surprise you sometimes with a literal spark. The Massey Ferguson 135 blends trust and trouble in a way that's pure magic, if a little mad. So we have explored 10 strange tractors, from the fire-breathing Lanz Bulldog to the crazy Massey Ferguson with an electric system. Each machine is a story of creativity, risk, and patience of the ancient farmers. Despite the danger, they still live forever in history in the hearts of those who love old machines. Thank you for joining us. If you like, please share or leave a message. Have a nice day and see you again in the next exciting journeys.